Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Center for Public Policy Research Dialogue on Coastal Communities, Fisheries, and Sustainability in India. I am Dritishri Bordaloy, Senior Research Associate in the International Relations Vertical at CPPR and the moderator of today's webinar. This is the seventh episode of the webinar series, part of the research project known as the Indian Coastal Think Tank Network, supported by the Asia Foundation, New Delhi. The Indian Coastal Think Tank Network, or ICTN, aims to create a network of coastal think tanks focused on policy-driven analysis of issues in India's coastal region from local, regional, and national perspectives. We have 10 experts joining us in this network from different think tanks and institutions across the coastal states in India, focusing on the following themes: climate change and gender, coastal security, blue economy, fisheries, coastal ecology, coastal tourism, maritime domain awareness, ports and shipping, disaster management, and coastal energy. For today's webinar, our thematic area of discussion is coastal communities, fisheries, and sustainability in India. As many of you are aware, the fisheries sector holds a vital place in India's economy, not only as a source of national income and export revenue, but also as a crucial pillar of food and nutritional security. It supports the livelihood of nearly 30 million people, many of whom belong to a marginalized and vulnerable communities along our coasts. In recent years, India has made remarkable strides, emerging as the world's third largest fish producer. Yet, behind these impressive figures lie a number of complex and pressing challenges: climate change, habitat degradation, and unsustainable fishing practices continue to threaten the delicate balance of our coastal ecosystems. Small scale fishers also struggle with limited access to modern infrastructure, markets, credit, and social protection. So, this webinar is an opportunity to reflect on these realities. This panel will examine the current state of India's coastal fisheries and their ecosystems, assess the growing impacts of climate change and environmental degradation, and explore sustainable management practices and innovations. It will highlight the effective policy frameworks, governance models, and community-led solutions while fostering dialogue to promote collaborative, inclusive, and resilient approaches to coastal fisheries management. Before we delve into our conversation, I would like to introduce you to our esteemed panelists for the day. We are honored to have a distinguished panel of Dr. E. Vivekanandan and Sri Doda Venkataswamy IAS for this webinar. Dr. E. Vivekanandan is a dedicated fishery biologist with 4 decades of professional experience. He belonged to the Agriculture Research Service of India and worked in various capacities in the ICAR Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute. He has pioneered the research on many aspects on marine fisheries, such as fish stock assessment, coastal fisheries management, climate change impacts and adaptation, and marine mammals research, and has successfully coordinated and completed many projects in these areas of specialization. After superannuation, he has worked in several projects uninterruptedly for various national and global organizations. At present, he is Senior Scientific Consultant to Bay of Bengal Program Intergovernmental Organization, also known as BOBP IGO, and is associated with the Bay of Bengal Large Marine Ecosystem Project. He has traveled widely and has published 105 research papers in peer-reviewed journals, 2 books on stock assessment and marine mammals, 20 book chapters, and a number of technical reports. I welcome you to the webinar, Dr. Vivekanandan.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also joining us in this conversation, we have with us today Mr. D.V. Swami, who belongs to the 2001 batch of Indian Administrative Service. He joined as the chairman of Marine Product Export Development Authority of India, MPEDA, in August 2022. He is a postgraduate in political science. He has a master's in public administration from Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts, John F. Kennedy School of Government. Mr. Swami has served in various capacities under the state governments of Orissa in India. He was district collector in 3 districts of Orissa. He was state mission director for National Rural Livelihood Mission in Karnataka and Orissa. He had functioned as Revenue Divisional Commissioner in Sambalpur district of Orissa. Mr. Swami held additional charge of Vice Chancellor, Education Department, Higher and Technical Education, Rourkela, Orissa. Mr. Swami served as the Development Commissioner of Cochin Special Economic Zone and joined MPEDA in August 2022 as Chairman MPEDA, after which he also held additional charge of Vishakhapatnam Special Economic Zone in India. He has also had additional charge as Chairman of the Tobacco Board. Currently, he holds the additional charge of Chairperson of Coastal Aquaculture Authority from February of this year. I welcome you to the webinar, Sri D.V. Swami IAS.
Thank you, Dhruti. Thank you.
So let us dive straight in. We shall begin with a question to Dr. Vivekanandan. So, what are the observed changes in fish population, like fish stock distribution and trophic interactions due to the rising sea surface temperature and ocean acidification, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Dhruti. We are all aware that any organisms or even human beings, we try to move away when the situation or the environment is not conducive for us to live. So this is what happening in the case of the fishes as well. So when the environment is not conducive for their habitation, they try to move away from that location. So this is what we call as the shift in the distributional range. Now, due to climate change, we find that the sea surface temperature, seawater temperature, I would put it, is increasing. There is acidification of seawater. So the fishes tend to move away from where they are not they're unable to adjust to the local conditions. So this is what is happening for many species of fishes globally. And this is happening in India as well. We have very strong scientific evidences to show that some of the, particularly the pelagic, that is the surface living fishes along the entire Indian coast, are moving towards the northern latitude from the southern latitudes along the Indian coast, both in the west coast as well as along the east coast. So, for example, we often cite here is that we have the example of oil sardine, Indian mackerel, which are very common and very commercially important fish groups. So we find that from the Kerala coast, for example, we find that these fishes are spreading their distribution to the northern latitudes, to Karnataka, to Maharashtra, to Gujarat as well. And on the east coast also up to Odisha and West Bengal from the Tamil Nadu coast. So this we are finding. But one difference which I would want to show here is that these are not actually, we are not finding any shifting, but we are finding that they are expanding their territory. We are still finding these fishes in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, but they are finding the situation suitable in the northern latitudes as well. So we find that they are expanding their distributional range, but we do not know what will happen in the years to come. when the seawater temperature increases in the southern latitudes, like in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. We are still not sure whether they will be actually shifting and moving away from the southern latitudes to the northern latitudes. We have a lot of things to do. So globally, it has been assessed that there is a poleward shift in the fish at the rate of 72 kilometers per decade. That means about 7 kilometers per year. So when this happens, most of the tropical regions, there will be a significant decrease in the number of species. So they will be moving away. In addition to that, we find that when these fishes are moving, they have to adjust to the new locations. So they have to find the suitable food for them, suitable spawning atmosphere for them. So they have those fishes which are able to adjust to the food available in the newer areas. They will be able to adjust to the new places. Otherwise, they may not be able to sustain. So the trophodynamics of these fishes, the capacity of these fishes to adjust to the new conditions, that plays a main role. Another important change which you are finding is the phenological change, what we call. For example, we have the birds migrating during particular seasons. It is determined by the temperature of that region. So similarly, in fishes also we find the temperature-related changes in the reproductive behavior of the fishes. So we find that some of the fishes are reproducing in the cooler seasons compared to the hotter seasons. So there is change in the reproductive behavior, which is very much attached to the environment. In addition, we have a lot of evidences to show that the growth pattern is changing, the maturity pattern is changing. So I would say that there is a lot of changes that is happening in the life traits of fishes with the increasing seawater temperature as well as acidification. Yeah.
So thank you for that answer. Now we know that the organisms and the fish are moving up to the northern latitudes, and where because the environment is not conducive, and only the future will tell how it goes about in later. So the next question is for Mr. D.V. Swami. So, sir, the rise in fish imports has raised concerns about local fishers who fear being undercut by foreign products. So, are there any existing policy measures to regulate or monitor fish imports to ensure that they do not undercut the domestic markets, sir?
Okay. So the question I would like to divide into three parts. One is you spoke about the policy, then how do we monitor, and then the domestic threat. So coming to policy, like we have the policy of import duties are imposed by the government, and we also have FTAs. So with different countries, we have preferential tariffs for different HS lines. And when we are having these tariffs, we consider the domestic fishermen's interest, and then only we impose tariffs. Then also there are policies, like if you see the NFDB or Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana, there are a lot of policies to strengthen the domestic market. Then coming to monitoring, like the fishery department monitors the import, and we also see the trends, and then if there are concerns, we inform the government. At the same time, when it comes to quality, what is being imported to the country, the FSSAI also monitors the quality. Now the question, whether domestic market is under a threat, so that needs to be evaluated. So some data, I would like to share some data which would give us better understanding. So if you see the global trade in 2022, it was around 192 billion US dollars. And India, for the last 4 to 5 years, has been contributing around 7.5 billion, which is around 3.5 to 4%. That's in between that. And the shrimp is the main, like almost 5 billion, roughly 4.5 to 5 billion would be shrimps. But the major species which we see globally traded are like salmon, cod, trout, which are not available in India. Then if you see the exports, we export around 7.5 billion, as I said, but our import is around 220 billion. As you rightly said, there has been some increase in import. But if you compare import to export, it is still less. Then this data should be like related to the data of catch stagnation. If you see the marine catch, the it is for almost 3.5 million tons, it is stagnated. Now, one more important data which we need to see is the capacity of export, the plants which are there in India. We utilize only 30% of our capacity. Then the next important data point is the value realization. For example, the tuna from Sri Lanka, if it fetches $10, some studies show, if our Indian tuna fetches only $4. So these are some data points. So based on this data points, some inferences what we can we can draw some inferences are like, what do we import? If we ask the question, we find that the species which we import are like Pangasius, which is not much available in India, or the production is not still, it has not reached like Vanamai. Then Hilsa, surrounding Bangladesh or Thailand, we are getting Hilsa. And then salmon and cold water species. So why do we import? There are two things here. One is for domestic consumption, and like salmon and all would be like in the hotels. And then other one is re-export. So if you see the species which we trade and the species which we import, there's not much, I don't see that it's a threat. Whereas if you see the capacity utilization, importing this raw material would help us utilize our capacities better. So a study by internal study by our authority shows that we can almost reach around 520 to 530 million US dollars worth capacity can be utilized. What does it do? By utilizing your capacity, it reduces the stress on the export, the production system, the export processing system. So the export ecosystem also is strengthened. What I feel is it not only strengthens the export value chain, it strengthens the domestic value chain also. Because if you see the export value chain, the kind of impact it has had on India, the cold chain, the logistics, and introduction of new technologies in the processing, it has happened because of export. So the domestic sector has gained by this technology transfer and the strong export ecosystem. So I don't differentiate the export and the domestic ecosystem. In fact, having a strong export and domestic system which will coexist will help the fishermen better. If there is a challenge in the domestic sector, they can, if there is a strong export system, they can export. Because one example I would cite, like we are not able to export wild caught shrimp to US because of turtle excluder device which needs to be used in our trawlers. Because of that, the shrimp prices, which were $8 earlier, has come down to $3 to $4. So a strong export system would always help the fishermen also, because it has, then they have a choice, like whether to sell in domestic or to sell in export market. So then further, like the export market system has given us lot of learnings on the technology, on the quality aspect. If you see the quality aspect in the export value chain, that quality aspect in fact would help the domestic consumer get quality fishes. There's a lot of losses in the domestic market. So this export, a strong export system would definitely help the domestic system also. That is my view.
So thank you for providing a three-part answer, focusing on policy and monetary and markets. Also, you mentioned about the capacity utilization with the current imports, in a way strengthening not only the export value chain but also the domestic value chain. So that was a refreshing take on this. So thank you, sir, for that. Going on to the next question for Dr. Vivekanandan. Sir, in your experience, how is this Indian scientific community integrating climate modeling with fisheries forecasting, sir?
Yeah, I think the major research institutions, fisheries research institutions in the country are doing the climate modeling and uh, predicting or forecasting the fish population and also the fish catches for the future. Organizations like the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute are doing it right now. When you talk about modeling, a range of models are available. Uh, maybe maybe a very simple model to very complicated models, taking into consideration the different emission scenarios. The simple model could be just to see the catch trend over the years and try to see what will be happening in the future. But this type of simplistic model may hide many incorporation of many environmental parameters. So what is required is to have some sort of a complex models by understanding the interrelationship between the changes in the climatic parameters and the biological responses. So again, these complex models have got many variants, many types of models are available. The institutes are harping on these models right now. To put it briefly, these models can be undertaken by doing 5 steps. Step 1 is to understand the long-term changes in the environment, like sea temperature, seawater temperature, or other variables, for example, acidification or whatever it is. So these data are available in the Earth system models, which is available as a free source of data, which is available. You can have even 100 years of data for seawater temperature. So the second step will be to project the sea surface temperature, for example, for the different emission scenarios. So, there are, depending on the intensity of emission, there are different scenarios and how the SST or any other variable will be behaving with the different type of scenarios. So we can have a projection on that as the second step. The third step could be what is the current level of species distribution. We know that fishes, for example, where they are distributed in the oceans on a, let us say, 1 by 1 degree grid or 0.5 to 0.5 degree grid, where they are distributed, we have a fairly good idea about it. And that gives the understanding on the habitat select suitability for those organisms. So this particular species is suitable to live in this temperature, in this latitude and longitude grid. So once we identify that, we know the index of habitat suitability for that particular, can be fish or any other organisms. The fourth step is to simulate the changes of relative abundance and the biomass. So from fish catch data or from exploratory surveys, we will be collecting information on the abundance of the species as well as on the biomass in these grids. So we know how much is present now in terms of biomass, for example. And when you say that when this is when the temperature increases in the future, then we know that we have the habitat suitability also. So when we integrate these two sets of data, we can find that how much of fish or how much quantity of fish will be moving from one grid to the other grid because of different emission scenarios. So you can have you can simulate these changes. And finally, as a step 5, from the catch data, from the growth of the fishes, from the mortality of fishes, we can also estimate the maximum potential catch in the years to come. So this is the type of modeling that is being done right now by the fisheries institutions globally. And India is also right now is focusing on this type of study. The ultimate idea is to know how much fish we will get in the future, whether there is going to be a reduction or not. But again, this will be dependent on the regions. In some regions, as I said earlier, some regions may be benefited, the northern latitudes. Southern latitudes may not be very much in an advantageous position. So this is, I would say, location specific as well as context specific. But overall, the global estimations and also the predictions that has been done for Indian marine fisheries particularly is that the fish biomass along the Indian coast will reduce by about 8% by the year 2050 and by about 20% by the end of this century. As well as the marine fish biomass that could be exploited. That is the prediction that has been made for the Indian marine fisheries. Yeah.
So that was very informative to the listeners, especially the models that you spoke about and the five-step model where we look at the long-term changes in the environment, what the different variables are, and depending on the current species distribution and the mortality of it, which leads to the maximum potential catch. So that was very informative for us. So thank you for that. So moving on, so this question is for Mr. D.V. Swami. So India is one of the world's major seafood exporters, and the health of our marine ecosystems is closely tied to both economic growth and environmental sustainability. So, with the global attention on the SDG and especially the Sustainable Development Goal of 14, which focuses on life below water, there's a growing pressure to balance ambitions and the conservation efforts. So, how can India align its export strategy with the SDG goals, particularly SDG 14, which focuses on conserving and sustainably using ocean, sea, marine resources? Are there any specific policies or regulatory measures that can be adopted to prevent overfishing and protect marine biodiversity?
Okay. Uh, so, like our, if you see our export strategy, like we are it's strongly connected to the SDG goals, and India believes in sustainability. There are a lot of steps taken by various agencies, its fisheries department or the coastal aquaculture authority. Different agencies believe in this sustainability, and a lot of actions have been taken. Now, coming to MPEDA, which is the lead agency for exports in India, the marine exports. If you see our strategy, we have we have three verticals here. One is like which focuses on resource utilization. Right? So, resource utilization. Second is on traceability. Third is the conservation measures. So, to help our export strategy align with all these three aspects, uh, we have a strategy document developed by MPEDA, and we also have an institution called Netfish, which most of you must be aware. A special purpose vehicle has been created within MPEDA, a society which works, it's a network for fish quality management and sustainable fishing, which works in the coastal community. A separate institutional mechanism was created for this purpose. So that is the seriousness with which our export policy is aligned with SDGs. So coming to the resource utilization, here what we believe is uh, one of the reasons why there is a stress on the ecosystem is because whatever we catch, that catch is not utilized properly. That is one. And there is a lot of post-harvest loss. So we need to reduce the post-harvest loss. Then the quality, like the fish what we sell, if the same fish, if some value is added to the fish, it will fetch more prices in the international market. So when it fetches more price in the international market, the exporter would be transferring that profits to the fisherman or to the in the across the value chain. So the fisherman would get better prices. The third point here is like we have not utilized our high sea and deep sea. Most of the fishing has been focused on the coastal waters. To reduce the coastal waters pressure, we also are strengthening our deep sea and high sea fishing policies. And MPEDA also is actively engaging with various stakeholders with fishery department to have this high sea and deep sea policy. So in all these aspects, the capacity building is being done by MPEDA and Netfish. Now coming to the traceability. So if we are exporting to other countries, traceability mechanisms also ensure that the fishing is done sustainably and responsibly. So the CAT certificate for EU and Japan, for the CAT certificate is given by MPEDA. Similarly, the exporters in India, they follow the SIMP, what's known as Seafood Import Monitoring Program of United States of America. We follow the SIMP program, and there also the traceability is the details are provided to the US authorities. So then, as an authority, like MPEDA as an authority, we also are coming with a regulation where we would register the dealers, the middlemen. Sometimes the middlemen are the people who have negative impact on the unsustainable fishing also. So if regulation is there, we want to protect the interests of the fishermen also, and the quality is ensured and it reaches the factories, and the middleman's role also is reduced. Then next comes the conservation. On conservation, we have done a lot of steps. In fact, the previous question was on research institutes. We have collaborated with CMFRI, and MPEDA has come out with the MMPA study for the marine mammals. It's a requirement of US. We have come out to the stock assessment and bycatch mortality estimation in the country has been done by CMFRI and MPEDA. Then also there's a seasonal ban. You are aware that most of the state governments enforce the seasonal ban. We also create awareness among the fishermen about the seasonal ban to protect the breeding and nursery grounds. Through Netfish, we regularly engage with the fishermen. Then there are MFR acts in most of the states, but there are no marine enforcement task force wings. So through our advocacy, we have something called Chintan Shivers. We engage. MPEDA is a body which is a link between the central government and the state government in the federal structure, because the states are part of MPEDA authority. So we engage them with them actively. And like in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they have come out, they have formed the marine enforcement wings. So through our advocacy, we are influencing the state governments to come out with policy. So the next is with the fishermen, we work on the selective fishing methods. Like if you see the square mesh or the tuna long line to reduce the juvenile catch prevention, we are giving training and awareness programs is being conducted by MPEDA. Then in case of like square mesh cod, when the research institutes come out with a report that this should be the specification, that specifications are taken and we engage with the state governments so that their policies are aligned with the research institute's specification, and also it meets the international standard. So the square mesh cod end, which has to be used in the trawl gears, now Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat have come out with some specification in their policies. Then regarding minimal legal size also, that also the implementation, when the report had come from the CMFRI, we took that report, the scientific evidence, and then we engaged with the state governments. Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra and Goa also have started implementing the MLS. Then, as you are aware of the TED, which is the turtle excluder device, which would protect the turtles. There also we have designed the TED in collaboration with CAFT, the scientific institute which is based in Kochi, ICR Institute. And we have ensured that all states come out with a notification regarding TEDs, that the trawlers need to use the TED. So we are playing the role of advocacy, a link between the center and state in this federal structure. Yeah.
Thank you. We were not aware of the different advocacy that EPITA is doing, but now we get an idea. Also, you mentioned an important point on the resource utilization and the catch not being utilized, and also the post-harvest loss. All these are things that should be tackled and immediately. And also, an important point you brought out was to reduce the stress on the coastal fishing, promoting high seas and the deep sea fishing to reduce the stress. So that can also be another way to look at it. And also, it's wonderful to know the capacity building and the advocacy that MPEDA is doing. So thank you for the advocacy and the capacity building that you all are doing in your own organization, sir. So moving on to the next question. Dr. Vivekanandan, this question is for you, sir. What measures are needed to support small-scale fishers? Coming to small-scale fishers, what measures are needed to support them and in adapting to the climate risks, sir?
Yeah, I think this is very important. I think we should talk more about adaptation now and also in the future than on the impacts of the climate change. I think this is being realized in the last few years. We should have many adaptation measures, not only for the fish population, but for the coastal fishermen population, which is much more important. Then I would like to mention here again that, as I said, that the resources, impact on the resources, fish resources are context and location specific. Similarly, the adaptation also is location and context specific. For example, we have to have the adaptation to suit to the climate risks which the region is facing. For example, for the area which is prone to cyclone, frequent cyclones and intensive cyclone, I think we should have the adaptation to suit that type of situation. And also the flooding, some areas are having floods, some are having droughts. Sea erosion is another aspect where we need to have the coastal protection structures. And also now another thing that is happening, which we are observing in the recent years, is the marine heat waves. So heat waves, which is affecting directly the fishing communities, because they are exposed to very hot and humid conditions when they go out into the sea for fishing. So the heat wave also has got a lot of negative impact on their profession as well as on their health. And when you talk about the cyclones, we find that there is loss of fishing days, because we often come across the IMD coming out with a statement, fishermen, you please do not go into the sea, there is going to be cyclone or maybe precipitation severe. So we find that at least about 15 days of fishing is lost on an average along the Indian coast every year because of climatic events, not taking the other things. So, so we need to have adaptation to consider all these things. And adaptation, when we talk about it, this should be an ongoing process. It's not a one-time process. It's an ongoing process and also iterative. We learn as we do, and we try to improve upon whatever we are doing. So it should be context specific, ongoing, and also iterative, the adaptation measures. For example, I can say that the earlier example which I told that there is a distributional changes that is happening as far as the fishes are concerned. So there is a need to develop fishery in the new areas where they are not found earlier. For example, we have oil sardine in Gujarat, Indian mackerel also in Gujarat and Maharashtra. So is there a market there for these fishes? And if it is not there, we have to develop market for these fishes there. So that is becoming very important. And also some of the things like if we have in the original areas from where the fishes are moving away, we should try to regulate the fishing activity there. So if the fishing is intensive in that area, continue to be intensive, I think we have to regulate that activity because the fish population will not be reduced to very much below the sustainable level. So that is also very important. And also, I was mentioning about the phenological changes, that is changes in the reproductive behavior of the fishes. So considering this, we have a seasonal fishing ban, okay, for 2 months. Some states are following 3 months seasonal fishing ban, based mainly on the spawning season of the fishes. So when we find that the spawning season of the fishes is changing, so should we have a call on changing the seasonal closure of fishing? So this is something which we have the research institutions and the policy has to work together and decide whether we should start thinking in those lines. And also, some of the things that are very much required is to have the yearly weather warning for the benefit of the fishermen. Vessel tracking mechanism, we have the example of Oki cyclone, where vessel tracking was very much felt the need for that. And then also another important thing which we have to consider is promoting insurance, which is not very much there in the agenda of the government as well as among the fishing communities. So promoting insurance and also promoting sea safety measures are very important in the context of climate change, in addition to protecting the coastal infrastructure. So what is very much important is the connect between the scientific findings and the practical applications when we think about adapting the fishermen as well as the fisheries to climate changes. And more important is that adaptation measures should be appropriate. Mal adaptation is much more dangerous than not doing anything. I think maladaptation should be avoided and it should be a appropriate adaptation, and the adaptation measures that is being implemented should be properly evaluated so that I said it is iterative, so we could be able to change and adapt as and when required. And another important thing is that the conventional management measures which are already there should be properly implemented. It should be grounded properly. The fishing regulation, the seasonal fishing ban, meshes regulation, all these things should be properly grounded, which will to a very large extent take care of adapting to climate change as well. Yeah.
That was very well put, especially the challenges that you brought about with the cyclones, with the heat waves, leading to loss of fishing days for the fishermen, and also the measures that need to be taken up. And so you brought out an important point on the measures that are already there to be well implemented, or else use scientific measures while dealing with adaptation strategies. So that is very, very important, especially in ICTN. We focus on coastal issues and small scale fishers come in that. So, that's very important. So thank you. So Still remaining in the question of coastal, small scale fishers. The next question is Mr. D.V. Swami. So small scale fishers are often the first to feel the impacts of climate change and environmental degradation. So how can we ensure that small scale fishers who are often at the front line of ecological change be empowered to lead sustainable practices?
So my response, the previous question, like we do a lot of capacity building programs. So the small scale fishers also are engaged in this programs. So one point which I would like to highlight is that in the fisheries, like if you see the Indian fisheries, it's mostly it is driven by the government or the exporters or the domestic in the value chain, the middlemen who fund the whole process. Uh, what we need to do is the co-management of fisheries, where we need to engage the community more. That needs to be done. Like if you see the agriculture sector or the dairy sector, a lot of progress has happened there where the communities are engaged. But unfortunately, in the fisheries sector, that is not up to the desired level. So one harbor, a fishing harbor, we had taken a fishing harbor through Netfish. We had trained the Munambam fishing harbor on the co-management of fishing harbor societies. So it is one of the model in the country where the in the co-management the fishers are actively engaged. So this kind of models we have been like advocating that other states also need to have similar models. So we are writing to different government agencies like in Paradeep or in Tamil Nadu, different places. We want to have similar harbor societies where the co-management is done by the fishers themselves. So then coming to the alternate livelihood, a lot of things like the challenges have been addressed in the previous question. The government also recognizes these challenges, and if you see the Prime Minister Matsya Sampad Yojana, the NFDB is the nodal agency, and 100 coastal fishing villages have been identified on the climate to work on the climate aspect. So climate resilient fisheries, the initiative would be like seaweed cultivation, artificial reefs, then sea ranching, then promotion of green fuel, and the safety and security measures of fishermen, which Dr. Vivekanandan had pointed out. These are the focus, along with alternate livelihood activities like ornamental fisheries also. So in Tamil Nadu, under the seaweed project, almost 127 crores has been given by Government of India. A seaweed park has been set up. And we are also like MPEDA also through its society called Rajiv Gandhi Center for Aquaculture, which is the nodal agency for technology transfer in the country, is trying to get the best seaweed germplasm so that the productivity at right now the seaweed which is being available, which is available in the oceans, it's of not good quality, so it not fetches good prices. So one way is to improve, get better germplasm and improve our production systems, which would lead to better livelihoods. Mainly the focus is on women. Coming to one more project I would like to mention here is in the Odisha government. They have a project called ECRIC, which is enhancing climate resilience of India's coastal communities. So they are working on climate resilient coastal communities. So there also we are providing technical support, like the technology we have. Uh, the people there grow crabs, or the crabs are available in the waters there, but they're not getting good quality seeds. So when the quality of seed is not good, the production also is not there. So if the production is not there, then again it leads to less revenue, and that will again have an impact on the coastal community. So we are trying to address this gap in the value chain. We have provided this year crablets to them. To the we have a MOU with Government of Orissa, ECRIC, and RGCA, EMPEDA, and we are providing them full technical support. Also, we also work on like value-added products, dry fish, all these activities also. Netfish is training the women. So we are providing some tools and some equipment, small equipments, and also building their capacity so that alternate livelihood also is taken care and value is added so that the stress on the coastal communities on because of climate change is reduced, and also further they don't have create more negative impact on the environment. That is as part of our policy. We are conscious of this policy and we are trying to engage with the community constantly.
So thank you for showing us the policies, especially the PM Matsya Sampada Yojana and all the work that you all have been doing on this. It gives us a idea about what is happening in the policy level, sir. So there is a question on the chat box, sir. Any of you all can take up. It says, it's a question from Banisha Sheikh. Please share some opinion on the protection measures for the fishery communities, especially any insurance facilities or any other welfare mechanisms to ensure socio-economic empowerment. So, Mr. Diviswamy, do you want to take this question up?
Basically, like under Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana, like some insurance schemes have been designed, and they're trying some pilots, and there's not much evidence to show what kind of impact it has had. So I would not be able to comment much, but the government has designed the schemes and it's in the implementation phase. It's in the pilot phase, and the insurance schemes implementation is ongoing.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Dr. Vivekananda, do you want to say anything on the question, sir?
I only want to supplement to what the chairman Empada said. There are many schemes that are available. If you want, the protection measures, there are several coastal protection structures like the seawalls that is being constructed in many places, and insurance, of course, it is being promoted by the government. But we did some workshops also on that. What we find is that the premium to be paid by the fishing communities, so they want the government support for that. So I think these are some of the things, and also the insurance companies. Insurance companies are ready to enter into, but there are also some technical aspects that are being, whether the insurance should be for the fisherman or for the boat, or for the hull, or for the engine. I think these are some of the things which are being discussed now. So it is on the course, I would say, insurance promotion. But the socio-economic empowerment, the government is doing many things, like the compensation that is paid to the fishermen during the off season or the seasonal fishing ban, and also compensation that is paid during the cyclones. I think these are some of the, and also there are many other social welfare schemes in their marketing, in their promoting their education, their health status. I think there are many socioeconomic welfare measures that are being done by the government. Yes.
So also I would like to add one from the export point of view. I would like to add one dimension.
Yes,
so like we may provide them all like most of these schemes, but being in the export sector, I feel that quality is one of the biggest protection for the fishermen, because by ensuring quality catch, maintaining quality across the value chain, your livelihood and your income would increase. So this is one thing which we miss. We always are worried about other aspects of government fund transfers, but quality is one thing which can fetch us better price. So if you see that our interventions they're all basically on quality and traceability. So that itself we should consider quality and traceability as a protection of fisheries communities interest. That should be the narrative which should be like all the fishermen should speak about quality. Quality is there, then it fetches higher prices. That evidence shows. I think Professor Vivekanandan would agree
Yeah,
on this aspect.
exactly. That is the right word, I would say.
Quality, sir, in the exports.
Quality. Yeah, because we go more by quantity, but I think our focus should shift towards quality
Quality.
because we
Yeah.
don't have a lot of fish out there. So for the same fish, how much improved value we will get? I think that should be the our approach. Yeah.
All right. So as we are approaching the end of the webinar, I'll quickly, in a sentence or two, summarize what the speakers have said. We'll start with Dr. E. Vivekanandan's points. So you've highlighted how many fish are moving away from their because from their environments because the environments are not conducive, and this is not just limited to India. This phenomenon, it's a global trend, and also the measures, the adaptation measures to say climate risks should be context specific. And so you also mentioned how the measures that are already in place need to be implemented thoroughly. So that is a very important point. And also, sir, you mentioned about the models of how the models and the scientific measures and adaptability measures that can come together in helping better measures in the fisheries sector. So that gave us a varied outlook on that. And Mr. D.V. Swami also mentioned as major global exporter, India's marine economy is closely tied to the sustainable development goals, and where we must focus on resource utilization, where we should promote optimal and sustainable use of marine resources. And the implementation system again should ensure that the export of seafood can be traced to its source, enhancing the compliance and the transparency of it. And we also came to know about the MPEDA, the conservation and the advocacy that MPEDA is doing, and that MPEDA works closely with state governments. And then we ended with the focus on small-scale fishers, where small-scale fishers engaged in they're engaged in community reach program, and we need to reach out to the small-scale fishers more, and also to replicate this model. And the final point was on export. The quality of the export should be high, more than the quantity of it. So that wraps it up. So these are my few key takeaways from this webinar that we've done and this discussion that we've done. So with that, we've come to an end of this session. I would sincerely like to thank our speakers for their valuable insights and for joining us in this important conversation today. Dr. E. Vivekanandan and Mr. D.V. Swami, thank you so much, sirs.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
so this discussion today, it reminds us of the urgent need and the collaborative and adaptive strategies to ensure the sustainability of our coastal ecosystems and the resilience of the communities depend on them. So that was a very important point. And CPPR would also like to extend its gratitude to the Asia Foundation for supporting us in the Indian Coastal Think Tank Network project. I also would like to thank the CPPR team behind the scenes who helped us organize this webinar. And last but not the least, I thank the audience for participating, asking questions. And we hope that today's dialogue sparks more research, policy action, and cross-sectoral collaborations. That's what we hope from this. And do follow CPPR's website and social media for future events and publications. With this, we have come to an end of the webinar. Thank you, and I wish each and every one of you a great day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.